Fantastic. Everybody's looking fabulous over here. You guys are rocking and rolling like always. So, you know what to do first. You got to check in and tell me where you're watching from. What time is it where you are right now across this wide world? You can see we've got this enormous mega canvas that we're going to paint on today. Just a 30-inch by 40-inch. It's humongous. Look at it. It's insane. So, I'm sure that we're done so far. I put my black gesso across the canvas in this little area, taped off this one little line so it was nice and flat. Made my little rocky area over on here. And then, when it was all dry, I covered the black area in liquid clear, covered the top area in liquid white, and the bottom area in liquid white. So, you'll have liquid white across the entire canvas, except for in this area where it's liquid clear. Everything is all nice and wet. Now, let's go crazy. Let's get into our blue. I'm going with the Paint with Josh brush, load it up nice and full, and let's start launching in all of this blue color. We can kind of crisscross it. Start blending it on our own as it's falling down. It's going to blend in more and more and more with that liquid white that's on our canvas, right? So the more that we mix it, the more that liquid white is going to start blending with our blue, making it a brighter color, right? That brightness and differences is what I like to have anyway. I don't know what about you guys, but I like to have those differences in our color where it's not all just one blue. And we got all these different shades of blue up here just from dropping on a little bit of color, blending it out across this whole big canvas. This thing is a monster. Remember, we don't want to get too much brightness down into our black area, and it will try to cover it. So the more that you crisscross and drag that brightness down, the more it's going to try to cover up our dark area, which we don't want. We want to keep that nice and bright. We'll get a little bit more of our paint. That's coming from this side, just all crazily. Now, underneath, or right above our bit of rock, or underneath our bit of trees, is not important, right? All this stuff right here, not important. Out here, yes. All here is going to be all covered up, right? So we're going to blend out this big old crazy area, and then very softly just start to blend our sky together. What do we want it to look like, right? These big old canvases can take a toll on your arm for sure when you're going to do yours. So guys, tell me where you're watching from. What time is it right now where you guys are in the world right now? Look at the size of this canvas. It's immense. It's enormous. Uncle Jimmy, gotta use those new brushes. I'm telling you, I'm chilling you. Right, again, the more that we mix back and forth, the softer and softer and softer our sky will become. And I want to have all these areas with differences, so it's not all the same, right? If we're blending it all the same, it's going to look a little ridiculous to me. Anyway, just me. I don't know about you guys, but me. It's going to look a little funky to me. So I like it to just kind of flow through. It doesn't all have to be perfect. It doesn't all have to be crazily soft. But I don't really want any hard streaky lines in there either, right? Again, the more you work at it, the more it's going to soften out, blend itself down. We gotta get our sides, because on this big old canvas anyway, if you're not blending out the sides or covering the sides, it's gonna look funny. So, at least on the bigger canvases, throw some color on there. And if not, it's just gonna look weird. Okay, now let's go into here. We'll get a little bit of our black, our Bob Ross Midnight Black. And let's put a little bit of that guy up here. We're going to put more of it down underneath our clouds. And you put the black up there and let it mix in with the blue. And the more that you blend it, the more kind of soft gray it becomes. And you get this cool kind of dark underbit to our clouds is all it's really going to be. Remember, don't really have to worry about the blend or your sky so far up your canvas. This is all going to be covered in trees, and they're going to project out to at least about right here, right? So everywhere left of here, I'm not going to worry about what it looks like along the black gesso area. Just I'm not even going to care. I don't care one bit what it looks like up there. All right, pull this guy out, take a look at it, and go, okay, I like that, but maybe it could be a little darker, right? We'll put a little bit more of the black up there, just a very small amount. you don't need to put a whole glob up here, because then it's going to be hard to blend away. Right? Just like that, even with the very fine Paint with Josh brushes. Get a cool little sky, that's all you really need. Right? A bit of darkness, a bit of light, a real bit of supreme brightness for where our clouds are going to be. Right? Maybe we take some of that dark and we run it up through here and mush it around, our whole canvas shaking about. There we go. Right? Just get mean with it. You're not going to be able to hurt the Paint with Josh brushes, I'm telling you. You cannot hurt these little guys, all right? Crisscross, make little circles. However you want to get the color onto the canvas is how it's going to be, right? Now, let's say, since we're going to drop on just an immense amount of our white paint, we're going to use one of the Gak Doctor brushes because they can hold a bit more. And those Paint with Josh brushes are fine and very thin, so they don't hold as much paint, right? If I want to get out there, one of these Gak Doctor brushes, and let's just say there was this whole immense, just mushing full pressure against the canvas, right? Got to put full pressure on there to drop as much of the white off and onto the canvas as possible, right? And then taking all the other little bits and kind of mushing them in. Full pressure, though, on the brush. Bang. Literally, you have to get all that paint out there so we can then mix it down with a bit of our 2-inch, 1 or 2-inch brush, whatever you want, right? I like the 1, I like the 2, I like them all. I like them all. We can even go clockwise strokies with this guy, and not just trying to hit the same spot every time, right? We're kind of picking it up in certain areas and rolling into other areas, and so you get these cool differences. If you're just kind of steamrolling it all the way from one side to the other, you're not going to leave neat little things like that. That's what you got to do to make it look more real. Right? It's got to be sort of odd. There's no perfect cloud, and if you ask me, what makes a perfect cloud are its imperfections, of course. Gotta have those imperfect areas where it's not all white, or not all gray, or not all blue, whatever, right? Now let's drop down to this whole other section down here, remembering we're gonna have trees at least out to here. So let's not put too much white out there. Drop it in again, full pressure, turning it, mushing it, pushing it, and we just got this little line, which isn't enough, right? We know we gotta go back in here and give it some more paint so it can grow. If you don't allow it to grow, it's just going to be this very thin little, tiny little thing that we're not really going to be able to see, right? Especially once we start mushing on it. Push on it and blend it down over that darkness, right? Very light on the top, a lot more pressure on the bottom, so you can kind of have these little wispy bits flip underneath the little bits, right? And then you go back in to your top side or wherever. Right? Or your bottom side. Push on it, mush on it. That white will blend away, right? So, if you push on it hard enough, it will disappear, and you will not be able to tell where it starts, right? That's what you want to do on the bottoms of our clouds. The tops go nice and soft. The bottom, go rough. Just roof. It's going to be a rough day. A little bit more blendy action out here. Let's throw Karen out into this guy, just because. It's been a minute since we've seen her, and it's gonna be cool. We're gonna take a little bit of our white, a little tiny bit, like we're making a mountain, right? Except we're not making a mountain. Not just yet, anyway. Why don't we come out here, just out of the clouds, little angle, right? Little streak, zip. Doesn't need to be long, doesn't need to be insanely bright, right? It's whatever you think it looks like. I think it looks like that. Take it, streak it out. Just like that. Bang! It's a cool little thing. Always mix it up a little softer where it hits our cloud, though. Right? It'll look like it kind of came out of the cloud, or it's flying above our clouds. And boom! Just like that. Fabulous. Little thing. Don't need to have too much pressure or too much anything just to get it out there. Okay. Now that we've got all these clouds out into our sky, we need to contrast off all that brightness with some darkness. You guys, right? So you got to tell me where you're watching from. Make sure if you're watching on YouTube, you got to hit that the thumbs up button over there. That's all I got to get you to do. Just hit the thumbs up button one time. That's it. Once, and you can be done, right? We're going to get over here, take a bit of our black, a lot of crimson, a lot of blue. We're going to mix down this crazy, dark, thick pile of paint. Just an immense, humongous pile. It's gross. You would not want this falling onto your carpet, that's for sure. right? If that fell onto your carpet, oh, you would not like old Paint with Josh. I think you would give up painting after that. You're like, you know what? That's enough for me. I can't do it after that. Okay, now, I'm gonna get in here and show you how to make trees with the Paint with Josh fan brush properly, these background trees, okay? It's not just as easy as you might think. We're gonna have to work a little harder because the brushes are thinner, they're more fine detail, okay? So for painting these deals that are way the heck off here, we're gonna wanna tap down, right? Just like that. Normally, if you're tapping and you're not connecting them, they're gonna look a little funny, right? It's gonna be odd and weird looking. So what we need to do is as we're tapping down, we go, okay, that's the center of our tree. Now let's move over a little bit and then move over a little bit and make it like a little pyramid, something like that, right? Very easy, very simple. Maybe this guy would come down a bit more. Come over. Just again, tapping, pushing onto the paint. And by the time we get down here, we're really gonna mush onto it with full pressure and darken it out, right? And those are gonna be our little faraway trees. Now sure, you might have to work a little bit more or do a little bit more times or a couple more here or more there or whatever, right? But they're gonna give you a sharper feel to all of the trees in the back, right? Look at that, already, it's like a little puff of trees just chilling in the night, right? Let's make it a little taller. Over there, see how the more you push with that full pressure of the brush, you'll make a weirder little shape? That's perfect, because that's what the trees really look like out there. It literally is. You're gonna have some that are taller, some that are shorter, some that are fatter, some that have a real sharp top, some that don't have a top at all and they just literally broke off. It literally happens just like that. Bink! Out in the night. All right, we're gonna do this as we get further and further. They're gonna climb higher and higher. Using more paint, more pressure to make our trees. Right? It's the same thing though that we did over here, same thing. Then we can go back and fill in a couple little areas, make it look odd and weird, right? Because not everything out there is gonna look exactly the same. And we got another guy here, we got another guy there. That's gonna be maybe our last one that we'll be able to see fully before we start getting up and out, right? Covering up all this stuff up here. Bang, get it rid of it, down into the darkness, onto the black part of our canvas, right? Filling up these little things, just mushing and pushing. That's all we're really doing. This is why I didn't care what my sky blend looked like down here. Right, take this guy out here. Actually, let's make this guy, just give him a little bit of detail out here in the night. Right, a couple little branches. We don't want to make him too fat. But a few little things that kind of separate him from all of his little buddies back behind him, right? And again, fill in the base. Care about none of that stuff out there. It doesn't all have to be a perfect, straight, dark thing. And it doesn't all have to be filled, areas like that, except for down here. Down around the base, you can barely see through a single thing. So you want to make sure they're nice and dark, flattened out. Now, what if we had a bit of our rock back up here, right? Just with the fan brush, just kind of getting around. Don't want it to be that straight. Let's make it a little humpy, little bumpy, a little here, a little there. Bink, all the way down and around, right? Pushing our sky off into the distance. And now we can decide how far do we want to come with some more trees. All right, now that we know where our rocks are going to live, maybe these guys get a little shorter as they start falling down towards the coast. They get a little shorter, a little smaller, a little here, a little there. Bink. Just wherever. Doesn't even all have to be the same. Maybe way out there, there's a cute little guy. He's just sitting out there, enjoying life. Just bink, right out there on the coast, just by himself, loving it. Just loving it. We'll pop out a couple little weird little things at the base, just like that. Fabulous, right? You don't need anything else more than that. Doesn't that look like a forest, Todd?
It does.
Todd's here, guys. TMH92 is in studio because he came here to take a class earlier today and stayed to watch the show. That's what a mega fan he is. He's the mega fan. Dang, out there in the night, right? Couple little things, some indistinct forest. Again, out in the night. Wherever you want to have it is exactly where it's going to be. You don't even all have to stand up perfectly straight. That's the best part about it. And you can go back and make them taller or adjust your line or whatever you want to do. All up to you every time that you go to do it, right? There's another one out there in the night. My favorite. Okay, Now, we've got all this paint up here, and all that texture, we need to flatten it, right? We're gonna flatten it out. So, we're gonna take our 2-inch brush, very lightly, right? Just kind of flatten out a couple of these guys. We don't even have to go all the way to the top until you get up here. All it does is kind of push it further into the distance, literally. You don't need much more than that. Okay, now we're gonna go back to a bit of our titanium white. We gotta have the white in here in order to make our mistiness, right? So we'll pop this whole thing, this whole big crazy white cloud. You can see it's actually right above my undercolor, which is why it's remaining so bright. So we kind of missed it, right? Now, we're gonna fill all this stuff in with our darkness, so don't worry about what the rocks look like. But right into here, we've gotta start tapping in, going up into our trees, bringing the darkness down, taking the brightness up. Darkness down, brightness up. Darkness down, brightness up. And the more that you do it, the more it'll look like mist in the night, right? Especially as we get up in here, you can mix up a little bit of a cloudiness, right? You get this little thing of mist happening back there. That's all you gotta do, right? Take that light, work it up into the dark. You don't even have to mush it if you don't want to. Do it just like this, up into the dark, down into the light. Down into the light, up into the dark. Where do you want it to be? All up to you guys. Every time you go to do it, we can do it, what, the same or differently? We got our rocks coming up into that misty area now. Right there, filling up that whole thing with a bit of our dark black mix. That way, when we go across it with our brown highlight color, we'll actually have something that we can grip onto and grab with that dark color, right? Now, we took our blue and sap green and layered it in between. You can even see it sort of shining its way through down here. And that way, wherever we cross with our white paint, little teeny, tiny, small bit, right? Let's drop it down like this guy. And let's work it up and towards our horizon. Remember, not everything out there has to be fully bright and crazy, okay? You just gotta have a little bit of light color, a little bit of dark color, so it's not all the same. A couple little crashers out there, right? Maybe our water then dipped down over here and started coming in, just scraping the knife back and forth and just dropping down a little as we go, right? We started up a little higher, we ended a little lower. That's all we really did. Didn't do anything nuts, right? Come into this guy, scraping a couple little things, just adding a bit more of my paint onto there so that I can come back with a brush and soften it out. Right? Drag it back, drag it back, drag it back. Try and keep it very flat little things out there, right? Ooh, that's cool. Todd, what do you think of that? I like it. Todd likes it, guys. That's neat, right? Now, let's see. We might be able to sneak in one more little piece of water, but we can also do our rocks and stuff. So what do you guys want to see? Do you want to see the rocks, or do you want to see more water? Let me know in the comments. And I'm going to get started on my mixing of my brown, 2 brown colors. Let's throw a little yellow ochre in there too, maybe some engine yellow. Just a little bit. Mix these guys all together. Right? And I'm going to use that for my dark shadowy color, and then we can highlight that same color by adding a bit of white. Should be very cool. So if we take our dark bits and we put them back into here, just kind of tapping at the rocks, whatever will stick is going to stick. Right? Tap, 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 tap. Little things, right? You can drag at it if you want. All up to however you are with the knife. If you're not very confident with the knife, then I suggest the tappy method. Where we just tap, tap, tap. Whatever, and once they all come off, okay, come back in here and add on some more little bits. So once that goes away, come back in here, tap on some more little pieces. We're gonna have all this crazy texture on our little rocky area, right, that we're then going to grab and brighten up with our brighter color. Right? So, like I said, if you can drag it, go ahead and drag it. If not, then don't. Take a little bit of white, come over here into our same kind of shadowy mix, and we're gonna brighten it up. Not that bright. There we go. There. It's always the creepiest thing I ever heard Bob say. There. I was like, oh, geez. Right, come on, we're gonna start tapping on this brighter color, right? And once you get the brighter color out there, you're gonna wanna start missing areas of your darker color. And that way you'll have these little shadows and such. right? If we're putting all the bright on top of all the dark, it's just not going to work. Right? If we're highlighting some spaces and we're leaving some spaces in between that don't have that highlight color on them, then they'll look like shadows. Shadows and dust, Maximus, right? Wherever you want them to be. However bright, however tall, this, that, and the other. It's all up to you. You want to drag your knife down this way, give it a little slope down the side. You can do it. You guys have the power. You have the power. No He-Man fans out here? Screw you guys then. Fine. Look at that. Right? The more you do, the more you do. Come tap onto this guy just a little bit. Right? Just to have a little bit of light creeping around the edges. Now, I'm purposely going to grab a bit of that back of that guy and mix that up towards my mist. So kind of soften it a little bit. The reason we're doing that is so it'll put a bit of distance in between our next little thing that's going to have to come down and land in between. How far up into your trees does your mist go? Totally up to you. I only ever keep about 1 inch to 2 inches, sometimes 3, depending on how big our trees are. And in this case, they're very large. Over here, over there, flattening it down. We'll take out those circular brush marks, okay? Now, we've got to start popping in some more watery bits as we roll towards us. So let's dip down again below. Remember, this is where the bottom of our land was right there. So we got to dip below that guy, come out here, and start our scrapey scrapes. Drop down again, dip forward, and drop down again. Just making little number 2s, right? See number 2 right there? Zip or a Z. Boop. Little Zorro. Paint with Zorro out here. We're getting crazy, guys. Right? The more we dip down, the more we come over, the more we're going to dip down towards the side. It'll help us more easily pull it back and stay flat. All right, so we smoosh it on, just like so, getting it all up there, getting all crazy and nasty, putting enough of it out there so that we can grip something with our brush. Okay, if we can't grip anything with our brush, then it's not going to flow back very far. All right, we're going to streak it back almost to the next bit of color. Right? We don't want the pieces of color to touch. Out there, streaking it back, streaking it back. You'll keep it nice and bright on the front, and then you'll have that color fade away down towards the back of the wave. Oh, look at it! You guys, that is looking fantastic already. All right, pop this guy out, just dropping it down a bit more, and then come into this guy. There we go. Brighten it up, pull it out a little bit if you wanted to, right? However you want it to look is exactly how it's going to look. Now, let's come down with a bit more of our plaque mixture, this stuff over here. We'll grab our other fan brush. It's got all the darkness on it, right? We'll go back in and make up some more little rocky areas. They're going to have to sit a little taller, right? And they're going to come down into that mist. Yeah, we're leaving a bit of that mist in between these little things. That way, whatever this guy is in front of that. It sits a little lower, it's a little bigger, it's a little closer. Right? Put our darkness down in here, just kind of mushing it and filling in our areas. Doesn't need to be anything crazy, right? However you want it to look, exactly how it's gonna look. Out there, just mushing it back, mushing it back, mushing it back. Get all this stuff, just some darkness. That way when we drag across it with our knife, or tap at it anyway, whichever way that we're going to do it, it will deposit that lighter paint. It has something to grip onto. Right? Have you ever tried to put a highlight on top of nothing? There's nothing for it to grip onto, and therefore it won't grab and drag and break. Right? It's just kind of very flat. So, you gotta have the dark down there first, and we're going to brighten up a little bit more of our kind of rocky color over here, just so we can have a little bit of it. How do you want it to be? Right? You can either tap at it, or you can drag at it. You can do whatever is easiest for you. Right? That's the thing. How is it easiest? Do it that way. That's what I always say. Right? Kind of tapping at it, bringing out a little bit of life to those rocks. Right? And we crisscross in front of our shadows a little bit. Mixing. Every time we're tapping at it, it's kind of mixing those two brown colors together as well. Right? Doing little things out there for us in the night. It's fabulous. Now, we need to mix up a bit more of our plaque mix. We're going to be using a lot of it today, so you might as well, if you're painting along, might as well just mix up an enormous pile. Just an incredible pile. Over here and over there. Now, you guys got to check in. Tell me where you're watching from. We're going to give out some shout-outs back here. Where are we watching? Oh, look at the color of the water. Oh, goodness. Man, you guys are wicked cool. Thanks for being here. Watching from Ireland. Watching from Mordor. Pennsylvania, Missouri, Detroit, Mobile, Alabama. Watching from my chair. Todd, get out of my chair. Get out of my chair, Todd. Georgia, Phoenix, Indiana, Mount Pleasant, South Carolina, and then North Carolina. Alaska, Colorado, outside. Max outside. Cosmic is in Mordor. And Todd's in my chair. Perfect. Just perfect for me. All right, let me see if we can get just a couple little splashy splashers to attach themselves onto our thick rocks. And I know if I want to attach the thick paint onto more thick paint, I need to soften it or wet it down a little bit with our liquid white. Right? So what if we had a couple little bits like that? Oh, Todd, does that look all right? There it is. A couple things. Maybe we had a couple little bits rolling off the top of this guy. They don't all have to be just purely flat. A couple little strangers in the night. Dragging it back. Don't want it to get too bright. Drag over there and over here. That's pretty cool. I like that right there. A couple little bits. We don't need them all to be perfect. Take away the ones that we don't like. Yeah. Just a few little things out there. All we need. Now, let's come into that plaque mix. We got to get crazy, you guys. We got to go nuts. And just drop in a tree just like you've never seen down here. Pushing harder and harder as we get in and down. We push a little harder. So we're there, we're pushing a little bit harder, make a little bit trunk, a little bit fatter over there. All right, now let's come in and let's launch out just a few little bits. All right, leaving some spaces in between. And that way, make our little eagle's nest out there. Oh, I love it. Love that. Pop down over here. All right, they don't all have to be missing space in between. I tend to do it like this, so in case I don't like how it looks, then I can always go back and fill it in. Right? If I fill it in all to begin with, then I can't go back and take away those fills. Just like that. Oh, man alive. Woo! Guys, one more little branch down around the bottom. Just a couple little branchy butts. Just hanging out down there. Man, that's cool. I like it. Maybe fill in his center area a little bit more onto that tree, and we're going to be looking good, guys, when we go back to highlighting. Now, we need to get into some more rocky area and some more of our land, right? Plus, we need to pipe in some more forest back here with all that mist, the mistiness. So let's get into that right now. We got the plaque on the brush. We got our Paint with Josh fan brush out here, and let's start right in there. Let's give ourselves a little old guy. Just a little old tree in the night. He's hanging out back here in the rocks, trying to grow, trying to find some sun, right? Now, what's the only reason you can see that tree? Why? Why can you see it? Because it's the same color as the plaque mix above it, right? So why can we see that little tree right there? Anybody tell me? Thank you for the cosmic coming, a galaxy. Woo! Do you see? Thank you for the galaxy. You're awesome. You are awesome. The mist. Exactly. The mist behind it. That's why we can see this tree. It's because there's all this stuff back here, this bright area that we're then contrasting off of. See, we did the exact same thing that we did here, just on a smaller scale. Right? Now we're going to climb up into this mist, so they need to get a little bit taller. The space in between can vary, right? You don't have to have all your peaks be exactly the same. I'm going to climb a little bit, then we get all the way up here, start launching down a whole other thing. Just some indistinct background forest. That's all we're looking for. All right, pop a little guy up next to him, pop a little guy up next to him, fill him in. That's all we're doing each time. Filling in some spaces, and then going, you know what, that might be a cool spot for another little tree, so he can have some branchies on him, right? If you leave a couple of these ones that are detailed, it tricks our brain into figuring out what these other hash marks are, right? We're like, oh, okay, I see. They're far away little pine trees, right? Especially if we're gonna come down there, why don't we do another one right here? Do this guy right there, right? We'll make him just a little poopski, just a little bit of a detail, a little more detail on him anyway than the rest, right? Filling him down, and that way you can look at all these little trees out here and go, ah, okay, I see what those are now. I can tell. They're all these, just more tightly spaced, right? Now, do one more little guy up here, well, humongous guy up here, over there, just to have that background color and our mist in between. All of a sudden, guys, it's looking really cool, isn't it? All right, we're gonna take this guy, we're gonna swipe up, miss our trees that we have the branches on. You don't wanna hit those guys, right? All these other guys you can drag up on. If we drag up on these guys too much, it's gonna flatten and ruin our shapes. That's not what we want. Right, down into there. Oh, man, that is gorgeous. Just gorgeous. Right? What if we had, look at that mist just start climbing its way up, just as, there we go, just to kind of hide, oh, there it is. See how it's feeding all the mist back behind it? Fabulous. Just fabulous, okay? Now, same thing. Let's take that darkness and let's, a bit of our bright and get up into our dark. All up into these trees, right? And we'll create a whole nother batch or a little bank of mist coming off of our next bit of water coming in. Right? Each time that you put the plaque out there, you gotta come back in and mist it up. Otherwise, we're not gonna be able to see through it. All right, take your mist, work the light up into the trees, work the darkness down into the mist. Right? If you have to bash at it a little to get it to do that, then that's what you gotta do. I've done 1,690 paintings. 1,690. That is a lot. So I can kind of flow and adjust with whatever happens as we go, right? And you're gonna have to figure out what works best for you. How is it easiestly done for you, right? Because you're the one out there, not me. I can't be there with you every time that you paint. And so you gotta figure out what works best, how you're gonna recreate that if I'm not here, right? And then, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they paint with you? Oh, man. Okay, let's come in. Let's see, we gotta fix this line right here. I want it crisp and round. There we go. Crispity and round. There we go. Okay. Now, we gotta pop in another little guy, right? But this time, let's add some liquid white. Just a little bit of liquid white to our white paint. As we get closer to us, we're gonna wanna make it look more and more and more watery. So this is about a half and half mix of liquid white and the titanium white. Let's come out here. Right? See how we dropped down each time? We were here, then we dropped, then we dropped, and we dropped again. Right? Same thing with our land. It was higher, then it's lower, then it's lower, then it's lower, then it's lower, and it'll be lower again as we get down here. So, can't just be straight lines out there, as much as we want it to be. Cannot do it. Or it comes out. Oh, guys and gals and painting pals. We may have to put our sand in now. You know what? We should have been doing this. We should have taken a bit of our blue and popped it down into here just prior when we were doing our sky. And we did not do that. And that's my fault. I'm sorry. Right? Put a little bit of blue back there. I'm going to put a little bit of it. I'm talking about a small little bit. Right there. Don't want to have too much. All right, the blue is going to be there in order for our brown sand to turn a little greeny, right? And that little green twinge is going to be up to us on how much brown that we actually put down. Putting down the brown town over there. Boom, boom. Pushing a little bit harder. You can always pull it down and then side to side in order to soften things. But there we go. Okay. We're just gonna have to throw in our sand, guys. I can feel it. We just gotta throw the sand in. Now, I'm gonna use this other brush since our PaintWithJosh one is all bluey and I don't wanna ruin it as of right now and clean it. So, come in with this guy. I'll drop on our two brown colors, start working them forward. But by the time that we get to the blue, we kinda wanna pull away. We don't need all of that brown covering over all of our blue, long strokes. All right, those big old chunks of paint. It's all right, they'll look like little pebbles. Long strokies, and we'll go blend it all out. But by the time we get to the blue, we kind of adjust our pressure. There's little pressure against that blue. All right, we're not trying to make all the blue go away. We want to save a little bit of it. Down here in the brown, push with all of our might, all of our enormous pressure that we can actually push with. All right, down here. As soon as we start hitting that blue area, I'm going to start getting a lot lighter on my pressure, and that way I may be able to save a bit of that blue, and if not, turn it a little green is my goal with that brown, a little bit of that bluey. Oh. That's going to be fantastic. All right, pull this guy over here, just like that. The more that you mix it, right, say if you got a couple streaks, just keep going over it. It'll blend them out. The liquid white on the bottom of the canvas will help us blend all these things. You can see that very light kind of twinge of green in that blue from our sand. That's what it's from, guys. The brown and the blue mixing together and creating this cool little thing, especially when we go light it up with our liquid white. You just wait. You just wait. Just wait right there. Darken up our bottom a little bit more. There we go. Now the angle of our water on this one is coming down real steep, right? It's different from some of my other seascapes. So we're going to treat it a little differently. Blend this guy out. This whole canvas is just shaking like a monster because it's so big. There we go. Let's really give this sand a good blend. Okay, and then we'll blend out all these little streaky poos. The more that we push on it, the more they'll go away. There we go. Even on a monster-sized canvas, doesn't take you a whole lot of time or energy or anything. Okay, now let's get back into that liquid white line that we had going on. Now that I've got some land to crisscross over onto. Pop out here, down into the wet spots. Guys, it's gonna be fantastic. Look at that. Oh, it's gonna be wicked. Wicked, wicked, wicked. Out there, dumping it down. Wherever I want it to live is where it's gonna live. Change things up. You can do whatever. Right now, let's grab this guy. Get back. Very light. We can come over and cover whatever we don't like, but lightly sneaking it back in a way towards our next little bit of color without touching it. Right? We don't want them all to touch. That would be bad if they were all touching back there. So drag it, drag it, drag it, drag it, drag it, drag it, drag it. If all those light colors come and touch, we're just never going to be able to tell what is what out there. You know what I mean? You won't be able to tell what part of what is which wave or anything because they're all the same color. Right? And that's never going to be good for anybody. Dude, look at the reflection of the sky just because of that blue color down there. And it kind of lost the thing. That is rad. That is rad. Okay, let's get back over here. We're going to pop in our next little section of rock, which now has to live in front of these little guys, these trees down here. All right, pop down into our water so we can decide where the rocks and the water meet. It has to be lower than this guy back here, right, in order for it to work properly. With this big old rock. And then we're going to put a big old tree in it, so you better get your black mix out and get it ready because we're about to launch in this immense, just an immense tree, a humongous tree. Get more of our brown as well. We're gonna have to get some more out of the old paint box. I knew it. I knew we were gonna need a lot on this painting, that was for sure. Because this guy is a lot of size to cover. Trying to cover all this immense canvas. That's a lot of square inches we got to cover through, guys. A bit of our darkness here and there, just kind of putting it down so we can have something for our light to pick up on. Right? Need a bit of white, mix it in with a bit of that brown just to get that lighter color. it is. All the way down the bottom is where that white likes to live. And then you can come start tapping on little guys, right? Little bits. Not everything out there is going to be exactly the same. So let's dip down, maybe we connect a little area or leave an area in the shadows. Right? Wherever you want it to be is where it's going to be. And then we have to come at it from a different angle, so it'll be flatter or something, right? Even underneath that guy, you could pop in another bit of flatness and leave a bit of dark, right? Just looks freaking rad. Just rad. You can't say that it don't, because it do. It sure do. Look at that rock. That's cool. Okay, now, we need to get some more paint out of the old box. And while I'm doing that, you got to tell me where you're watching from and what time is it where you guys are right now. What time is it on this immensely huge canvas? You guys. Boom. I think we got enough crimson. But we don't have the midnight black that we need. There we go. We're going to be making some big old sweater trees in this one, you guys. Just some sweatery trees out there in the night. All right. Now, as well, we could also take this guy out here and drop him down. If he was out that far, all I'm worried about is the angle of this line, and it seems to be too steep. What do you think, Todd? Seems to be a bit steep. It's linery, but I don't know. I like it. I like it, guys. I likes it. All right, let's get out here. See what we can do with this guy. Let's bring him out. Right, we're going to attach on right there and right there. We can always drag back little diamonds if we need to, or if we can. Bring this guy out a little bit more, just helping my line. All right, there we go. It's not too bad. This guy, what if we came out more? I like that. There we go. More. Need some more freaking liquid white. More. There we go. Best part about that liquid white, you can pick it up and use it in other places. Literally. It's so wet and runny. Oh, that's much better. All right. Flat lines, little things, nothing too crazy. I like that. I like that, he says. Okay, let's take a few of these guys off the backside. We're going to leave our area in the front kind of untouched. Right, just about as straight as you can pull them off, though, because you don't want it to look like it's dipping. And if you do look like it's dipping, then we got a problem, right? Now, should we bring this guy forward anymore is the question. Bring him forward to there. And kind of fill back that little area. Right? All the things you got to do on the fly, you guys. Just literally on the fly as you're going. You look at it and go, you know what? That looks much better. I like that right there. Or not. You know what I mean? Whatever you think. Because every time you do one, you're going to do it a bit different to me or a bit different to your own one that you just did. And a bit more of our brightness just to have some sheen back there. A couple little Charlies. Just a little Charlie sheen back there, y'all. Little here, little there. Just like that. Oh, man alive. That is looking wicked. Wicked. Okay. We get a little bit more of our titanium, our liquid white and our titanium white together, because we're going to drop down underneath and make our shiny, watery area. So we need to get very close to the line that we just made. Right? Very close. Close as you can get, especially if you have the Paint with Josh brushes. If you've got the Paint with Josh brushes, you're going to be able to get very close to that guy and still be able to grip onto it. Versus the Ross brushes are a little thicker, they're a little bit bigger, they have more bristles in them, and so they can't get as close. Right? It's all up underneath there, liquidy white, watery wetness. Foul. Just foul, right? Now we're gonna get up underneath that guy and start to drag that liquidy wetness down, and depending on the amount of liquid white that you put on there, depends on how much we'll streak down. Also with our pressure, how much are we pulling down on our little bit, right? Back in here, trying to get right up onto the little guy. Continue along back here, straight, 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 straight. Come back in, pulling down even more. Right, and underneath this guy with a bit more of our liquidy white mess, because he's the closest thing to us. I would imagine he would also be the brightest. Just like that. Right? We got all that stuff down there. Fabulous. Doesn't that look like wet sand? You can be honest. Tell me in the comments now. Does that look like wet sandy beach? Or no? Does it look like a waterfall? Maybe it looks like something else you might have seen. Right? Tell me what it looks like if it doesn't look like beach. I'm going to show you how to turn it into wet sandy beach just right here in a second. Just in one hot little second. Also, we're going to extend this little rock down into the water. A little bit of brownery on him. Coming in, tapping our other little brownery on him. Any amount of white highlight with the lighter color. Yes! Yes! Look at it! It's fabulous. Okay, I'm assuming I'm seeing lots of no comments, right? So it doesn't look like sand. Josh went to college and never left. I never went to college, actually. Never did one day of art school or anything. Looks like a waterfall. I feel you, okay? I feel that. Now, with our very thin PaintWithJosh 2-inch brush, we can get right up underneath that watery line, which you just can't do with the Bob Ross brush, right? I've tried it many, 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 many times. Right up underneath him, and then we're gonna take it and pull it out flat. And if we pull all of these horizontal streaks, vertical streaks, and turn them into horizontal streaks, it starts looking a lot more like wet, watery beachiness. You son of a beach. Look at that, guys. Isn't that fabulous? Again, the more that you take those vertical streaks and turn them into horizontal streaks, the more wet, watery, sandy, glossy look that we get to it, right? Look at that. That's fire. Does that look like sand now? Right? You get that soft little bit back there. It's just fantastic, isn't it? Just literally fantastic. Thank you, Ariel. I appreciate you. I appreciate you so much. I'm in Eugene, that's right. Eugene, Oregon, where the University of Oregon is. Go Ducks. And you got to come down and check us out down here. We teach many things. We teach Oregon coast paintings, but we also teach other things as well. Well, you'll have a lot of fun when you come down and take a class from old PaintWithJosh, that's for sure. I try to make it where everybody has a good time and that the students' paintings always look better than my own because I'm taking the time to help them, you know what I mean? Versus just doing my own painting and having it look really good and then not helping you guys. That's no fun. I mean, it's fun for me. It would be fun for you guys. There we go. The more times that you gotta get back in there with your liquid white, it's just a very small amount because if you put on too much, you can't take it away, right? It'll blend pretty easily, but it's hard to get that liquid white to go away if you do put on too much of it. Slide back the areas that we don't want, right? Keep the front nice and wet looking. And that's gonna look fabulous. Just fantastic. That little ridge on the front of our water right there. Again, drag back whatever you don't want. It's literally it. Literally, guys. Literally. As some people say. Literally. Get down a bit more. A bit more. There we go. Guys, that's looking really cool. Okay, let's take a bit of our liquid white and titanium. Mix it up and make it a little bit thicker because I want it to streak off my knife like this. Right? So we'll have a couple little bits of, I don't know, call it sea foam, bubbles, muddy puddles, just something, sea lion caves, something floating on top of the water. Right? They don't have to be everywhere. We're just using a very small amount and dragging the knife backwards right? That way we're just depositing very small little things every so often, right? We put on too much and it's just gonna look odd, right? It's not gonna look real. Drag them back, drag it back, drag it back. A couple little bits in the night. Woo, guys. A couple less back here. This wave's a little bit further away. We do want its front to be bright. We just don't need as many little streakers in the night back there, right? This will do it all on its own for you guys. If you're using the Paint with Josh brushes and you're doing exactly what I'm doing, right? It will fall off the knife backwards. I've seen people do it. Todd, can you do the diamonds? Or do you struggle with it?
Tried, really.
Well, what are you doing? Try. Try to do the diamonds so you can, you know, give people the feedback if they're easy or not. There we go. Gorgeous. You guys. Dip, dip, boom. Oh man, alive. I like that. You guys. That's cool. That's cool. If you ever do cover over one of your little dark spots that you didn't want to cover over, just go back and put it in. Break it back up. Okay. Now, let's pop in our last thing. Our water line over here, but I need more liquid white. I don't have enough because Todd used all mine during the class. Alright, it's not true. We do need a lot of it though. And that way, especially on this big canvas, we'll have a nice water line right up here in the front where some sea foam has got stuck to the sand and never slid backwards, right? That's what we're going for next, you guys. The sea foams. We're gonna get a chunk. Just an enormous amount of liquid. Whoop, fell on the floor. Enormous amount of liquid white. Just plow a huge bit, tiny bit of our titanium white. Little tiny little thing. And that way it's mostly liquid white. It'll remain nice and wet and watery. And then we can decide, do we want to have it way the heck out here? You know what I mean? Pushing down hard onto it. You have to push hard. Don't let the knife escape, right? It can't bounce back or it can't move on us. We don't want it to pick up. We want to keep it out there on the edge, dumping down all this thick titanium white and liquid white, right? You have to have that liquidy white stuff, but you want it out there in a thick enough mess, right, that it looks like, especially when we pull it back, a bit of our sea foam. Okay, so we'll stay along the edge of our sand and our wet, watery area over here. Not trying to cover up too much. Drop down, scoop up more, come down, drop down again, right? Making more and more and more crazy big old globs. And with that liquid white, it's gonna have a little ridge at the front. If you're pushing hard enough and you're not picking your knife up, you're gonna have this little ridge in the front of your little watery line, your sea foam edge. And that ridge is vital. You have to have it. And we gotta have enough paint, remember, to then be able to drag backwards. So we've gotta put some excess paint, especially behind the areas where it's very thin, like right here. We can get a lot of push onto there. And that way we'll have something that we can drag back with our brush. Don't have something you can drag back with your brush, you're not gonna have a good time. There we go. That nonsense. Literally, gotta have something back there. Okay, and then we're gonna come up with our little brush, wipe it on. We're gonna start dragging back, but we're not gonna allow it to go too far, touch, you know what I mean? We don't need it to touch. We just want it to stay right up here, start looking like it's going backwards and blend into that wet shininess, you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be everywhere. We don't need it to stay everywhere or be as bright everywhere. You just want to slide it back. Pretty much straight sideways from wherever you are. Pull it back to the side. Side, 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 side. Long stroke so it falls off the the brush. Right? Long, 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 long. Kind of fades in into our wet area back there. Right? And then, what do you want it to look like? Todd, what do you think? Dude. It is wicked. I can't believe it's been an hour already. Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay. It's gonna be a 90-minute stream at the very least. 90 minutes. All right, you guys are lucky today. I'm getting a good long stream for you today. We can get any amount of our little diamondy bits to come off, even down here. You know what I mean? It's almost impossible. So don't force it. If they're not coming off, just move on, try another day. Especially if you've got a really good looking painting that you don't want to mess up, right? Now remember, we can always add little flakes and little specks and stuff in here with our brush at the end if we're going to do our sand. So you don't really have to worry about it too much. Don't stress over it. Don't worry about it. You'll be fine. Almost cut through the canvas with this knife right there. Todd, how sharp is the Paint with Josh palette knife?
Sharp.
Sharp. You guys be careful when you get that Paint with Josh palette knife. I'm telling you. You can almost cut through paper towels for sure. I do it quite often. There we go. Now, we got to pop in our 1 mega tree, which means we need a whole big pile of our Paint with Josh plaque. So mix up an enormous amount. We're going to need it, man. And we're going to need a bunch of brown as well. So I'll probably need to get the brown out of my paint box and have that ready for these tree barks. Okay. Now, I guess we could do this one with the Paint with Josh fan brush. He's small enough. We'll get out here, load up the fan brush, okay? We're gonna drop over, and we gotta decide. We put a tree right here, so I don't necessarily want to cover him up with another tree, right? Maybe. Oh man, we almost got room to do 4. I don't want to do 3 though. Okay, let's go right here, right in between, full pressure, all the way from top to bottom. Bang. Go back in, make sure it's full pressure from top to bottom. That way, you'll have this funky looking little tree out here, just like that, cutting through everything, blacking out. We can only really see it because of the mist in the background, right? Oh, very cool. Very cool. Look what it did to the poor Paint with Josh fan brush. It looks like a filbert now. Flatten out, my friend. Okay, now, our next guy we're gonna do is much larger, so why don't we save that bit of paint that we have. I can see an area that needed some highlight. Here we go. Let's save that bit of paint that we have on this Paint with Josh brush. Actually, no, we're gonna need to, let's do another little guy right here. Just a little old guy. There's room enough. Bink! Just a little old friend in the night. Right? We can do all sorts of stuff back in here. You don't have to just make it look exactly like my painting is all the time, right? We always preach that you can see something different. You might want to try a different tree or something and that's going to fit in your painting that's not going to fit in my painting. You know what I mean? I try to show you as many things as I know, and so that way you can adjust those to multiple different paintings and go, all right, this is what I want to do on this one. I remember how to do it. I'll do it like this, because Josh told me how to do this or that or whatever. Right? Let's do one more little guy too. Thinner though, not as thick from top to bottom. There we go. We're gonna get thicker. Boop, he lives right down in here. Dudes and dudettes over here. There we go. Doesn't have to be perfect either. Give him like a little bump. A little bumperooski. I like it. Bang, just like that. Have a weird little hump on the tree. That's fantastic. Now, for our last guy, he's going to be immensely huge over here. So we're going to want to build our rocks first. Maybe we can add some branches off of these guys too. Maybe with my liner brush, Todd. There it is. Todd's like, I don't know. You weren't even painting up here. I don't know what you did with it. All right, let's get it really wet with the odorless mineral spirits. That way it will deposit off. Todd, what'd you think about the Paint with Josh liner brush?
It's a learning curve, but it's way better than what I've had before.
Excellent. Thank you for your honest answer. So, Todd said he hates it. Appreciate you, Todd. No, Todd said it's a learning curve, and I've heard that from people. You know what I mean? I had to learn how to use it when I first got it. Just like I had to learn how to use Bram's brush when I first got it. Each time that we do something new, right, it's gonna have to be taught to us, or we're gonna have to learn ourselves how to do it all. Draw some branches onto these guys. Now, in order to get those branches to be sharp, what did we have to do, Todd?
A lot of odorless.
Exactly. We had to put a lot of our cleaner in there, and that way it makes our paint more like watercolor and falls off of our brush a lot easier, meaning we can make bigger things go into sharper things. Little branches here and there and all sorts of everywhere. I love the ones that just come off. They didn't really get a chance to grow very far before something came in and broke them. You know what I mean? It just makes them look a lot more realistic to me, literally. And that's all you're really doing is painting for yourself. What do you think it looks like? How do you want it to look? Really, the only thing that matters is your opinion over everyone else's, right? Now, let's say, since we got the darkness over here already, we know we're gonna have one more bigger rock come in here, right? He's gonna pop down and live inside of our watery goodness. Just fantastic. You have to. Even if you're like, oh, it's the best water I ever did. You gotta get something down and project something into it down here. You just have to, in order to help with your depth. See how the water looks like it wraps around that rock now? You couldn't do that beforehand. You just couldn't. There's not enough paint. There's not enough, not a smallest brush in the world. You couldn't get all those little things around there, right? So, get it out here, mush it on, let it get all crazy like this big old darkness, right? However we want it to look. You can get all big and crazy down here too. It doesn't matter. Whatever we don't like, we can turn into a shadow in the sand, right? So, speaking of which, let's take this guy, we'll drag him back a little bit. Let's start pushing him down, just like we would with our mountain. Right? Blending it out. You can really get that shadow to grow outwards into your sand, or you can put more brown out into your sand as well. Every time we do it, another chance to do a little different. Right? Just like that. Isn't that fabulous? Bang. Oh, Todd. Oh, man. That's a wicked one, if you ask me. Okay, we need to get more brown color out of our box down here. Get some of our burnt sienna or dark sienna and our Van Dyke brown, which is our lighter color brown and our darker color brown, basically. I bet you will probably need more than that. And that's a lot of paint out there already. But for all the trunk on all these trees, you need a lot of texture, right? The closer that it gets to us, the more details we can see. What are details? Texture. The texture. All right, now let's take a little PaintWithJosh fan brush, a little bit of liquid white, a little bit of green. And I'm not talking about a lot. I'm talking about a small bit. A little sugar over here. With a little old thing, and that way we can come off of this guy. And if there's enough liquid white and the sap green in the brush, then it will deposit off of the brush and onto our little tree down here. Right? Then it's up to us on how we want to highlight said little tree. If we want to make him really bright or really dark, all up to us. Right? Little bits of green on there. Your brush is going to get all covered up with the plaque, so you got to go wash it off or wipe it off. Back to our greenery. Popping on little guys. Just try not to cover up all the darkness is literally it. All right? If we cover up all the dark, then we're not going to like it. And trust me, I've done it before. There's one little highlight right there that's attached to nothing. There we go. Making a little branch. There we go. Little things, guys. Remember, you don't want to have too much liquid white. You don't want to have too much paint. Right? It's all the right ratio of stuff. And is it loaded onto your brush properly, or is it overloaded? Do you have too much? Do you have too little? Right? Again, we're just going on, smacking at our tree. We'll have to turn our brush eventually because it all gets all covered in that plaque mix. The more that we smack at it, the more bright areas are going to come, and it's also going to cover up more, and we're going to attach more plaque onto the tree as well, or onto our brush, because it's contact. See that? It's just all black now. There's no green left, Todd. What happened to it?
Just a bit more.
There now we can get a little bit of brown. Right? I'm going to highlight our trunks just a little touch. A little bit of our darker brown and our lighter brown together. And we're going to mix them up just like this. Let's add one little squeeb, little teeniest, tiniest little bit of light. And I'm going to brighten it all up. Just make it gorgeous. Now, this is probably the best painting I've ever done. As long as we don't mess it up now, right? So we'll get in here, tap on a little bit of our trunk, just in the areas where we may see some of that trunky color. Okay, and I'm only gonna leave a little bit of area on these guys so that we can come in and make them our mossy trees, right? So we're gonna do the back sides of our trees majoritively with the trunk. And all we're doing, again, just like the rocks, we come up here and we tap, and then move down and tap and tap and tap. Kind of go up to your first initial tap, because that's where all that paint is going to be, and you can spread it out a little bit. Go down here, over there. And remember, guys, you can grab this painting if you go to PaintWithJosh.com. It's the very first one up there. It is very, very large. It's going to cost me an arm and 2 legs to ship it to you. That is why the price is what the price is. Right? Just like that, a little bit of brown onto our tree, not trying to cover up all the plaque, our original darkness of our tree. Right? And then we can go sneak in some of our moss as it climbs up the tree out there on the coast. Right? So again, kind of just tapping on, and then we got to go back and make up some more color. I told you we were going to have tons and tons and tons of paint on this canvas right here. It's literally going to weigh more because of the amount of paint that's on the canvas. Right? Tapping it down. But remember, as we get closer, these textured little bits will get more and more and more visible because we can see more things as we get closer to our eyes. Right? So, you tap it in, getting all that darkness to come off of the knife and stick to the canvas is all we're trying to do. Whatever we can get to stick on there. Right, all crazy. Leaving the front side sort of untouched. We don't really need to touch that guy because we're going to come back and hit it with our little mossy trees. All right, same thing. Let's give this guy some bit of texturous brown. Some bit of something that our highlight is going to be able to grab onto. All right, meaning we're going to need to mix up even more brown. That's insane, the amount of paint that's on this thing already, guys. I might just take it out of the store, honestly. It's looking so good. It's looking so good. So good, guys. Down here with our bright. Over there, over here, right? And then we'll come back and we'll really brighten it up. And really make it crazy, boy. Just like that. Okay, now, let's mix up a little bit more of that brown. Throw down some white. Maybe a bit of our engine yellow. So we can mix up a good old color right there. That's gorgeous. It's all on the fly, how it looks. How do you want yours to look? Do you want it to be brighter? Then add a bit more white there. Do you want to drag across your rocks? Do you want to come down at a different angle? Right? Leaving little dark areas in between? Because that's what they look like to me. Does it not look like that to you guys? Am I seeing the world differently? Right? Like what, don't you see shadows and gaps and different things in the color when you go out there and look? Or is it just me? It could just be me. I might just be a superhero. You never know. Todd's laughing. Todd! I'm not supposed to laugh, Todd. There we go. I could be them. The painting man. The superhero that all painters need. Right? Whatever we want. But look, you get all those differences. That's the fun part. The differences. Alright? The bits. The stuff that's not all the same. That's the fun of it to me. There we go. A little bit more of that darker color. Get some shadows in there, guys. Some shadows. What the heck is that? Zip. Take that dark bit of paint out of my water. There we go. Remember, you guys can do it however you guys want to do it. Every time that you go to do it, you do it a little different. And that's the most fun part about it. All right. Let's get, where's that new, let's get this PaintWithJosh fan brush. We'll get this little fan brush over here. Okay, we're going to go into our sap green and our cadmium yellow to make it supremely bright. We only want it out on the tips. Remember how I always tell you guys, we don't make the shape with the tip of the brush, we make the shape with the paint that climbs up the bristles. Not in this instance. In this instance, we're using just the literal tip of the brush, which means that we will have to go back and change very often, right? Because the tip of the brush is going to get soiled. Look at that. Oh, guys. Look at the little mossy bit. Just by popping on, kind of in between our little trunky areas, right? Dumping on this little bit of moss. And like I said, the tip of the brush gets overly used and dark. So you got to go back in, a little bit more liquid white, back into our green, back into our cad yellow, just to make that same kind of grass color Josh likes. So yeah. All right, start piping in very small little bits of that greenery, right? And it will dull itself down as you're going over that brown, which is why we don't put the brown all the way on the front side of our trees out here. That way we're just kind of tapping on to that plaque tree bit, right? We're not mixing in overly with our brown. The more we overly mix, the more it's going to go dull quicker. We know that. Let's take this guy. Again, just kind of just back and forth, not even really trying to make it connected. We don't want them to connect. We just want a little bit of color out there on top of that dark brown tree trunk. We don't need them to all connect and be a solid line of anything. That's not what we're out here for. Kind of stick some in on the inside, climbing its way up. Right? Again, wherever you decide it should be is where it will be. Todd. There we go. We can pop a couple little bits of that mossy stuff just growing out down here. Just trying to grow down towards the grass or the water, wherever we want it to be, guys. Where it gets to be. Up in there. Fabulous. Fabulous. You can even stick like a dark bit of bush or something. It's down in there. Right, just kind of hanging out because you got to have the darkness down at the base. No matter what it is, you got to have some dark down there. And even if we pulled it out, kind of messed it up a little, bang, we still got at least a little bit of dark, which you can then go back over and highlight in a different way, right? It doesn't all have to be the same amount of brightness or highlight or whatever. Tap down just a little bit of that moss in between some of these little places on our rocks. Right, now you need enough of your liquid white and your sap green and your just liquid white, sap green, and your cad yellow, whatever colors you want to use, you know what I mean? And then it will come off easily, even on top of all that darkness, right? It will come off of that brush and land on top of that darker paint, right? And all we want to do is just not over mix it too much. If we dab at it too many times, then it's all going to mix in and turn into mud. Right? So you've got to be the judge about where you want to have your bits of mossy, grassy land kind of coming from, right? Where do you need it? Where is it all coming from in your mind? That's where it's going to be. Maybe a bit darker out here, but we just can't see it all, right? We get a couple little splashes out there, but we can't see everything. Man, looking good. Bits growing down here, trying to grow their way up the rocks. See how they're kind of attached like grass, and then it starts to spread its way up. Very similar to painting grass, right? We don't want everything to be all filled in. We got to have some little areas back in there. That's really cool. Really cool, guys. Really cool. A little hard to see as we're getting further away. Oh man. Just see all sorts of areas where this stuff would want to crawl its way up into. You see what I mean? All these little dark spaces in our rocks would be where this stuff would want to climb and grow all the way up into here and everywhere. Right? Where you want them to be on yours, again, totally up to you guys. Now we got one more big old monster of a tree to put in, so we need all of the plaque that we can possibly muster. into this big old tree. All right, I'm gonna take all this stuff out here. Remember, you can grab this painting if you go to PaintWithJosh.com. You gotta pick it up over there before anybody else because there's only one. There will only ever be one of this painting right here. And that way, whoever has it has a one of a kind. I'm probably gonna need more plaque than even that, but we're just gonna go with it and see. I'm gonna overly load this Gack Doctor brush up. And then we gotta have him right here, just full thing. Maybe he's got a little bend, full coverage, full blacking out. I'm talking about a big one. We're talking like at least 2 full fan brushes in width. And this is the big 14-inch size. Right? He's a monster. Just living down here. Bang. Dig it. Dude, that's thick. That is crazy. Over here, over there. That's a big old tree. If I ever did seen one. Man, you guys. Look at that. I think it's humongous. Literally humongous, guys. Boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. So, I'm gonna start having to come up with a title for this one as well. You gotta help me out. What are we gonna title this painting right here? We're gonna have to figure it out as a group. If nobody grabs this thing, or if you end up purchasing it, you get to choose its title forever, here and henceforth. Yes. Bang. Down into there. Oh, I like it. Big old monster of a tree. Okay, now we're gonna need 10 tons of brown paint in order to highlight this guy, and then we'll put our mossy sticks on him, our little branches and stuff, climb up and do all the rest, right? But again, it's the exact same thing, just gonna do it multiple times across a bigger surface. Just kind of putting down more and more and more trunk of our tree. Right? The more little chunky bits that we put down here, the more texture it's gonna have, the more details it's gonna have, the more paint we have to use. I'm talking about a ton of paint. So let's say you had just a jar or a tube of paint you're trying to get rid of. This is the painting for you. Because you need a ton of it. Literal metric ton of this paint. It's sticky, it's goopy, it's textury. You'll be able to feel all the bark on all of these guys because of how texturized it is. Yes, text your eyes. That's what I said. Text your eyes. Slap, slap, slap at it. See what it does to the knife? Wipe off all that paint that's on the sides, scoop it back up, scrape up a little bit, come in here, slap, slap, slap at it again. We're clapping trees over here, you guys. Just slapping everything. Bang, bang, bang. They're not going to get out on the very edge. Right? I've left some spaces in between that guy so that we'll be able to fit our moss in there as well. Right? I get one bit of brighter color brown, and we're going to come down on some of these little guys. Just a little touch. Just a little bit. There we go. This thing is literally so textured. So textured, guys. There we go. Boom! Okay. Now, let's throw off some giant branches into this guy. And in order to do that, we need a lot of our odorless mineral spirits and our plaque mixture. And so it's very wet. Right? Once it's very wet, you'll be able to launch off enormous branches off of this guy. You see how I'm kind of shaking the whole branch back and forth in order for it to be very thick at the top? Do it again right here. Just kind of shaking it. And that way, that branch, even from the same brush, much thicker, right? Headed down, it's a much larger tree. Maybe we can have things off of him. Maybe another little guy out there. Maybe a broken one up here. All up to us, how far these little guys go. It doesn't have to be too many of them. Mainly focusing on the water in this case, but there we go. A couple little bits and things, right? Just by mushing it, pushing it, come out over there. Maybe we drop down from the top like there was a whole nother branch that's just not even connected. We can't even see where it's coming from, you know what I mean? Just like that. You guys. Okay, now, that's pretty cool. We gotta do our sand. Gotta highlight our tree branches. And that's pretty much it, guys. Pretty much it. A little bit of our liquid white and our brown. We're gonna go straight into the pile. Straight into it, right? Come off of these guys just a little, only on some of them. Just so there's a bit, little thing out there. Let me go all the way across, just like that. That's looking cool. That's looking cool. All right, come off of this guy. Zip. I'm just kind of trying to get any amount of that light color to come off. The branch is going that way. Got little things. You don't want to have all the brightness in the world shining on your branch. You have to have some of those dark areas remain dark. Okay, now let's take that liquid white, get back to that little fan brush. Get into our green and yellow over here. That's our yellow anyway. Greeny bits, and we'll start climbing our way up this guy. Right? How far do you want your little mossy color to grow? How bright do you want it to be? We're not trying to cover up every single bit of bark that we just put down there. Right? We gotta remain, keep some of that bark. A little bit more of our sap green, liquid white, just again kind of popping it down in a strange line. Right? It's not a perfect line, there's no perfect perfection anywhere over here. Just a bit of strangeness in a weird thing, right? Maybe it patches up, maybe it breaks off and goes down on its own, right? It's all up to you guys and how you want to do it. Each time that you go to do it, we're going to try it a little different. Maybe get a couple little bits of that mossiness. Just come off onto our branches just a little bit, right? The branches are already very wet, so don't try to force it. If the moss doesn't want to come out onto the branch, I'm trying to force it out there. Little bits of light are going to help a whole lot versus too much. All right, put on too much is really going to hurt us. There, over here, and we can little bits of our sweater branches out there even. Bink! They got some moss on them out there by the coast, you guys. Boom, 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 little things. This guy might have a little bit of he's going off of that side, maybe a little touch up there. You never know. You never know until you get out there and do it. So until you've done it, don't tell me what can't be done or what isn't going to look right or whatever. A couple little bits, guys. Fabulous. Fabulous. Beak. Right out there. It's almost easier to highlight them with the fan brush than it is to do it with the liner brush, honestly. Just to being honest. A couple little taps. Remember, the moss doesn't have to be super thick. Doesn't have to go all the way to the edge. Doesn't have to do anything we don't want it to do, guys. Little bits. We don't even have to cover every branch, right? Look at that, Todd. Isn't that amazing? Dude, he's a big old tree. That is a monster of a tree. He's insane, this tree. Bink! Little dudes, just shit growing out of everywhere. That's how you gotta have it. That's how it works. Okay, guys, gal, and painting pals. The guys, the gals, the painting pals. Zip. Now let's come in and just touch up any little area with our water line we didn't like. This, that, and the other. Scrape it around. Make sure it's wet. Watery. Where else? Pretty much like. Zip. Bang, bang, bang. My friends, look at that. Oh. Okay, let's throw in our sand. Wash off all these brushes. And we should be close to being good. Now, have you ever seen me do the sand technique before in any of the videos? Anybody out there? Just yes or no. Have you seen me put the sand on a painting before? Yes or no answers only, please. Yes or no? What do we got? new people or we got a bunch of old viewers over here? We got no, we got yes. Okay, okay, okay. I've seen both. Nah. A magic touch of forest over the edge of the horizon. I like it. Guys, it looks so good. Hey, I'm old too, Lynn. Me too. Me 3, everybody. There we go. Okay. Now we got that guy brushed off or cleaned up. We got these that need to be cleaned. This guy needs to be cleaned. So we got 4 more brushes, guys. So check in. Tell me where you're watching from. Make sure you hit the like button if you're watching over on YouTube. And make sure that you tap on that screen if you're watching over on the talk. Chap on the screen for me. There we go. See how many tippy tappies we can get tonight.
31,000.
31,000? Nice. 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 There we go. And alive. I always see something and then I gotta go back and make more brushes dirty. This is what happens. There we go. There we go. Alright. You guys. So start coming up with titles. If somebody purchases this one during the show, then they get to come up with a title for goodsies. If not, then we get to come up with it as a groupsies. So keep typing them in. I got 2 brushes to go, and then we'll be all shadorooski. There we go. Perfection. So much wetness. Fabulous. There we go. Oh, dudes. Oh, I like it a lot, he says. Okay, we're gonna put these guys down here. And now we get to do our sand technique, everybody. So in order to do the sand, you need your odorless mineral spirits, which is your brush cleaner, and a little fan brush, and like 3 different colors. I'm gonna use my plaque mix first. Okay, we're gonna wipe out a very liquidy, wet, watery mess of paint over here. It's just the very fine, like we do when we sign our name. Very fine amount, right? Then we'll come out here, we'll start a little flick. Little flicks, little flicks, little flicks. Pop, 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 pop. Little specks of black. That's all we need. You don't need to have too many. You don't need them to be too close, right? Just little specks. Boop. Already looking like sand, right? Now let's go into we're gonna wipe our brush off, go into our odorless mineral spirits, and then go into our brown. Just a little bit. A little bit of brown. We don't need it to be too runny or too brown, right? You do need it to be wet and runny though. Same thing over here, a couple little brown little specks. Couple things, nothing too crazy in the night, right? Then what do we put on for our last step, guys? What is the last thing that we flick onto the canvas? Does anybody out there know? What's the last thing that we do and flip on in order to make our sand? Anybody? Anybody know it? The white, but what kind of white? We'll just do titanium white? Or what? Yeah, me too, Cynthia. It is a little expensive, though. It's a little expensive because it's big. You know what I mean? It's a large old canvas, so got to make it expensive. It's going to cost me an arm and a leg to ship it. All right, we throw our liquid white specks and speckles down here. Our little spectacles. Right? The liquid white comes off and flicks off like water because it's already so wet. Right? And it'll look like little seashells and different stuff down on the oceany sand. Okay? Now, if you have trouble getting those diamonds to flick back in your beach, this is when you can come in and just throw in some speckles off of your fan brush like that, which will look like little bits of reflecting water, little diamonds, like I call them. Out here in our surf, you can throw some out there. You can throw them anywhere you want, literally. Just a little bit of craziness out there. Man! That one came out fantastic, Todd. What do you think?
So good.
So good, Todd says. And Todd knows. Todd knows. He's an art critic. He's an art appraiser, that Todd out there. Let's see. Come on. This way. There we go. You guys. So, what are we gonna title this little guy right here, guys? Gassy Kisses Jade Beach. I like that. I like that. Let's see. What if we made this painting like $50 less? Let's see what that'll do. There we go. Boom, just drop the price 50 whole brushes on you guys. If you wanted to grab it during the live show and still get your spinny weenie wheel gift, you can. Just because I'm in a good mood, start the week off right, or the weekend off right anyway. So, if you like it, head out there and rock this guy out a bit more. Just gonna fill in this excess area. And all of a sudden, it'll look like it was like that the whole time. Just the entire time. It's already been like this. What do you mean? What do you mean? Out there in the night. Zip. There we go. That's what we want to see. Change it however you want to change it. Whenever you want to change it. Right? All up to us, guys. Every time we do it, another chance. Do a little different. I like that. Oh man, just coming around, about to wrap up around our whole beach. Bink. I dig it. I dig it, guys. I dig it. I dig it. I dig it. There we go. Perfection. All right, let's see if we can't get just any more little diamonds just to scrape back. There we go. Just one or two sometimes is all you really need to fall off that old knife. Give us a little bit of a, right there, just a little streaky poo. Some bit of something. Right over here, over there. That way we've got a bit of a thing. Maybe there's a rock or a pebble or something out there on the beach that's causing the water to act a little differently in that one section, right? All up to us every time that we go to do it. We can do it however we want to do it. Pop it down, pop it up. Get rid of it. Bang. Fabulous. Okay. You guys, that's freaking awesome. Just awesome. If you ask me. But who am I? I'm just some doofus that gets up here and paints for everybody's enjoyment. That's me. Alright. Let me throw on the old signature real quick, and then we'll be looking for titles, guys. So if you got the best title out there, type it in the comments now, and you might just be chosen. Just not as crazy as possible, these little guys. Zip. As sharp as you can possibly get them. Bang. Out there with that PaintWithJosh liner brush that I just love. Just love the liner brush. And if you don't like it, if you're using your odorless mineral spirits, it blends away to where you can't even tell it was there to begin. Let's get a little bit more. Over here. Over there. I was really hoping to see this one in a light party, you guys, but it's okay. I feel you. There we go. Caca. There it is. Little birdies in the night. However you think they should look. There we go. Zip. get the birds right today, Todd? Can you tell me?
No.
It's just something out there in the night, I guess.
Don't make any noises every time.
Huh?
Don't make a cause every time.
Yeah. I'm not cacawing enough, apparently. That's probably it, when you really think about it. Alright, let's go over here. There we go. There we go. After a few times, just don't like them in that spot, is what it is. And I've nicked my rock right here, as you can see. So we need to go bigger on the rock, which happens. It's the price you pay. You try to get down a little bit too close down there. And we can change up the look of our rock just quite simply and easily. And then come back and highlight that little stinker. Just trying to make sure we don't highlight all of it the exact same brightness. And just like that, got a cool little thing. You can make it a little bigger even. A little bigger. Pop it out over here too. Just change up the whole look. Just because those birds didn't want to play along. Tap it in, tap it in, tap it in. Go back and make it brighter. You have to have a high lit area. Just have it all be the same amount of brightness. There we go. A couple little things, guys. Sure, might be a pain in the butt to go back and do it again if you mess it up the first time, but that's what happens. You gotta give something else a try. There we go. Okay. Now, Mr. Birds, I'm sick of you. Let's put you up here. Caw-caw! Right through the goodness. There we go. There's the birds coming in for a landing, you guys. So, you guys let me know what we're going to call this one. Man, I can't believe nobody grabbed it even after I dropped it. Oh, it is a monster-sized canvas, though. No, let's put it down. Look at the other one on the left side. Let's do this guy down here. There we go. Boom, boom, boom. Boom. Here we go, my friends. I'm glad at least I get to keep this one. If nobody grabs it, that means I get to keep it and look at it forever and ever and ever. Finishing, if I'm looking at it, we're going to finish the sides up real good. Because you always got to at least cover the edges with at least a little bit of color, guys. Like, put a little bit of color out there at least. And that way, if you're looking at it from the edge, you know what I mean, or see it coming down from the side, it's not such a messy looking thing. There we go. Perfection. Pure-fection. Excellent. Get our sand up there. Perfect, perfect, perfect. I dig it, you guys. Very softly around the edge. Just like that. Oh, yes. That's cool. Okay. What do we got for titles over here? You guys let me know, and we'll see what we can do. Do you see? We will see what we can do. There we go. Perfect, perfect. Put this guy away. Awesome. Okay, what do we got for titles back here? Anybody? Todd's not even watching. Caw-caw! Timber Beach, I like that. Where the forest meets the sea, hidden oasis. Hidden oasis. Man, those freaking sweater trees look serious in person, you guys. The Majesty of the Seabird. Cove of Tranquility, I like that. Secret spot. Why is it all wet, Todd? What's the white line in the sky is a contrail that represents my ex-mother-in-law that we lost, late mother-in-law, that was taken by a doctor too soon from us. And so every so often we put the contrail out there to represent her. Todd was here. That's funny. Todd was here. He was. Pan's Portal, Mystic Timbers. I like that. Tranquil Shores, Diamonds in the Sand, Edge of the Horizon, Coastal Forest, Emerald Shores, my dream place. I like it. I like it. Toddle's Cove, Piney Pacific Bluffs. Oh, that's funny. That's funny, you guys. Cove of Tears. like you tear something. Put a little Wilson in there, just floating. It'd be cool. You'd be cool. Todd Washed Tranquility. Thanks, Josh. Appreciate you. Always love a Josh. Immediately recognize the coast, 100%. Todd was here. That's a funny one, too. Ooh, The Land Before Time. That's a cool title, guys. I don't know. That's in the top spot for me right now. Land Before Time. Dude, this canvas is enormous, you guys. $375. Get over there, PaintWithJosh.com. $375. You can't beat a Paint with Josh original, especially at that price. For that size, get out of here. I've charged double for that before. Granted, it's much more detailed of a painting, but still, double what that was. So, if you want to get a screaming hot deal, this is the one for you. This is the one for you. And then we're going to name it Land Before Time, I think, because I really like that. Unless you come in right now and purchase it, that's going to be the title, Land Before Time. Guy will wipe down, get this guy all wiped down. And then we're gonna pull the whole canvas down, paint the top, and then do all the stuffs.
Epic Cat says Land Before Todd.
Sorry?
Epic Cat says Land Before Todd.
Land Before Todd. That's funny. That is funny. Oh! This guy is nuts. Oh! It's a seriously big canvas, you guys. Seriously. Seriously. Okay, let's go down here. Throw the old JK on there. This marker is the trashed marker. That's the good one right there. Number 1690. Woo! Land Before Time. Reminds me of my youth. All right, this one was painted on 2/6/2024. We're all going to go to PaintWithJosh.com. You can find my YouTube channel, all my other sites. You can find the brushes. You can find everything. Now, I'm going to paint the top of the canvas. Look how much room's up here, Todd.
Damn.
That's like 20 square inches of room that we now have to cover because the canvas is one of those big Pro Series guys, and so you have to have the sides covered. You just can't leave it. You wouldn't leave it all undone on a Pro Series, would you, Todd? This looks too messy.
I agree.
It's too messy, so we'll do the whole top over here and there. You gotta remember to put your liquid white on there too, otherwise it just won't spread. It's a very dry canvas. There we go. So, we got the top. Almost there, guys. Gals, pals. Whoop. There There it is. Cool. Cool. Oh, this thing is a canvas, Todd. It is massive. Oh! Alright, let's try to get it up. Usually don't have a problem with that. Over here. Sometimes. Over here. Oh, shit. There we go. Get up there. Alright, guys. That one came out amazing. Just literally amaze myself sometimes. Big version. Makes it nice and easy to see all the details. And everything's all good to go. Woo-hoo, guys! Perfect! Alright. Always a place to dip it down a little bit so it's not so straight. That's what I always do. Okay. You guys have been an awesome audience. So, guys over on YouTube, I can't wait to see your versions of this massive painting. Don't get one of these big old canvases and do this with me and tell me how much you love it at the end, right? So, until I see you guys again on the next one, please take care, right? Please have the rest of a good evening. And bye-bye, right? That's what we normally say. A little bit brighter down here. You can sit and add details to this thing for days. You know what I mean? Whatever you wanted to do, you could do. I got to get it done relatively quickly so you guys don't get bored watching, right? That's what I got to do. But you can take as long as you want, and as detailed as you want, as many little diamonds as you can get on there. It just makes it look so much better, doesn't it? Fantastic. So, everybody watching over on YouTube, I love you. I can't wait to see you again tomorrow for Friday Night Freestyle. No idea what we're going to be doing at all. So, it's going to be a mystery to me and to you. So, until I see you guys again next time, take care. Have the rest of a good day. And blah, bow. Foliage, you guys.